Good morning, everyone. My name is Stijn Vermoten, and I will be your moderator for the welcome session. It is my true pleasure to welcome you all to the Challenges and Solutions for Spain event, jointly organized by ECMWF, the Spanish Meteorological Agency, and the Barcelona Supercomputing Centre, and to see such a high interest to our event. Before we start with our official welcome, I would like to share some housekeeping words for you to get the most out of this virtual event. First of all, try to connect to other participants via Swapcord. The platform is foreseen for a matching tool, which should suggest possible matches based on common topics of interest as you provided in your registration page. Second, try to visit the marketplace. It's one of the tabs where you can have a chat with the exhibitors. You can reserve a slot for networking sessions today, just after 5 o'clock, and tomorrow just before 12 o'clock. You can do this via the Marketplace tab. Another point is to raise questions. Of course, we try to be interactive. You can do this via the question tab. You can also vote on questions posed by other participants during the live session, which allows us to prioritize the most asked questions to be asked to the speakers. You also seen in Swapcord that there are some prizes to win. You can participate there if you want by playing with our conundrum game. And last but not least, in case you have problems, in case you have technical issues, you can contact the help desk and you can do this by using the help desk tab on the right top. Now, let's move to the official welcome of the event and allow me to introduce you to our honorable guest speakers. Our first speaker is Señor Ministro de Ciencia y Innovación, Pedro Duque. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much. Thanks for the introduction. I understand the event is supposed to be taking place in Spanish, so I will start moving to that language, and I'm hoping that you either understand or have a translation. En primer lugar, quiero dar las gracias a los organizadores de este evento.
I would like to thank the speakers and the organizers particularly for this fantastic program, which is very ambitious, Copernicus. Europe, through the Commission and the European Space Agency, has shown their vision, their long-term vision of their ability for leadership and to deal with these questions of the environment which so concern us. I think this will be the greatest world challenge, the challenge of the climate that we face in the coming decades. So through these programs, Copernicus was the space program that Spain really gave the greatest contribution in the 2019 Seville in the meetings, and we're really committed to the development of this program. So this is because we realize the seriousness of this problem. We're in a particularly vulnerable region and really noticing the effects of climate change. So we've seen the intensification of meteorological phenomena, the extreme climates, the increase in drought, etc., and also torrential rain. So the results of the EuroHIP program with Valencia and Barcelona showed that the increase of mortality in older people due to heat is double in the southern countries around the Mediterranean in comparison with the northern countries, which of course is logical because of the rise in temperature. Our high temperatures are very damaging to health. So this we need to adapt to the global phenomena like climate change, the contamination in the atmosphere, the state of the seas and the oceans, protection of health and the health of our citizens particularly. So we have the observation of Earth and this program, Copernicus, is set to provide the right technology for everyone so that we can provide the right information and knowledge and also to orientate public policies, which can be very useful for designing public services and enriching our work in general. So with the Green Deal, the law or the European Law on Climate, the Climate Pact and other initiatives through the European Union, through von der Leyen, organized by or set up by von der Leyen, has shown the leadership in the climate change struggle. So this leadership is shared with Spain, the fight against climate change and the decisions based on science as our plan for action. To provide the best decisions, what we need is this program with a new element in Copernicus, a strategic element, the support for our monitoring processes, our analysis of carbon dioxide levels, the emissions, combining many observations from space stations, looking at the state of the atmosphere to understand better all the information that comes in. And also, apart from this data, to support mitigation procedures, we have several applications, many applications to support us. These applications provide us information on the evolution of water resources in the Spanish Peninsula, looking at different climatic situations and planning for the future, seeing how this will affect our future with the energy mix that we have adopted. Looking at the major deployment of our new alternative energies and with a system of information which provide farmers with the information they need, anticipating more climate change, how this will affect their crops, their harvests, etc., supply of water, also agriculture indices, the humidity in the earth, etc. And so we must not forget the relationship we have between the climate and our state of health. The Climate Change Service has been set up to concentrate particularly on health and provide all the data of interest for the general public. Heat waves, levels of pollen, and also diseases spread by vectors, which increase the endangering effect of climate change on our health, and also the effect on the North and South Pole. So we have to look at services that will be really a benchmark in terms of industry and other areas. In Valencia and Barcelona, we've seen through José Sobina and the University of Valencia, who's organized algorithms to provide information on climate change through the system LCTM, and also José Moreno in the same university in Valencia, who is the main investigator in Earth Explorer, looking at the health of the flora and fauna. Also, Jordi Font, who was the key investigator in ESMOS, looking at the salinity levels of the water and has been working in this field for many years, providing high-quality data. This was one of the challenges that we particularly looked at, the integration of different information systems. Also, the provision of Spanish companies, the information they've provided for Copernicus. For the first time, we've led one of these missions. So one of the new missions, which is fundamental in our program, this monitoring process of the Earth temperatures through the system. This is a contract with more than 360 million euros, which is a quality leap forward in our capacity building and also a level of competitiveness of our company. Spain is has a select group of companies to provide complete space investigation systems with many different types of data and products with excellent database for users. Spain has institutionally and privately many partners opening up opportunities through Copernicus, creating knowledge and using this knowledge to provide effective follow-up on our natural resources, providing information to other countries, value-added products, giving dynamism to the economy. I want to finish by emphasizing the solidity of this structure of coordination through the institutional organizations, through actions for development of new instruments. So this is led, of course, by the Ministry of Science and Innovation, coordinated with representatives of the committee, the program, our ministry, and the Ministry of Industry, Commerce and Tourism. So we have also the R&D programs, which represent all of the ministries. This is a great example of interministerial coordination, which will help to our capacity building tremendously. I do wish everybody an excellent session and do hope that very specific conclusions are reached to be able to improve the use we make of our European programs. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Muchas gracias. Bon dia.
Thank you. Good morning. So thank you very much to the organizers for the opportunity to participate in this excellent event and share ideas and knowledge and move forward in the fight against climate change. So for Barcelona and for me as the mayoress, it's excellent to be able to share our proposals and the information to face the greatest challenge that modern societies are facing. Barcelona wants to play a key role in this project. For some time now, we've been over the limits of heat limits possible to be absorbed by the planet. So this will greatly affect our future generations, but is also affecting our lives today, killing off many species, attacking our biodiversity that we had up to now. So I think it's important to push forward with public policies, each one from their administrative area, and taking on the importance of this challenge, bearing in mind that we must provide a real response to this problem. Particularly, this is an urban problem. In cities, unfortunately, in the south, are greatly affected by the greenhouse effect. So really, we must play a key role in the fight against climate change and in emissions levels. So our cities perhaps have been left alone a bit in this question. We've had to organize ourselves through international networks to be able to exchange resources because we had perhaps fewer resources and fewer competences or skills and resources in other countries. So we must not elude our responsibility. Barcelona is absolutely committed in this project. And as mayoress, I'm very happy to take on this challenge, and which was emphasized in the Club 21 in Paris. Last year, we approved the declaration for environmental emergency just before the beginning of our global pandemic, so which actually reduced our emissions quite significantly, but temporarily. But this was not just a declaration, Paris. This was an action plan which we are developing through many dimensions. I'll give you some examples. We are pushing forward a major urban transformation with our Barcelona plan, which involves creating many new city squares, new avenues through our Plan Sardin. We also have a plan to protect 200 cities in this, removing car access, increasing free spaces, more pedestrian precincts around schools, and protecting the health of our boys and girls who are being seriously affected by the levels of pollution, which are unacceptable. So these are low emission levels. Our aim is to bring down these levels significantly with the more use of public transport and also your use of the tramways in Barcelona to connect the city areas. We've also doubled the cycle lanes in the city, and we are improving the existing ones. So in this fight against climate change is not just a question of pacification or increasing our public spaces. It must be a change in our economic model and our consumption, which offers major opportunities in job creation. And this aspect, we think that these funds to generation must accelerate this transformation. So certainly this transformation in mobility must be an accelerator of investments in industrial estates, and we must put our bets on the use of electric cars with much support from the state for Martorell factory at SEAT, and also the development of new electric local trains and commuter trains. This is a plan that's being activated. Another opportunity apart from mobility is the energy transition. In Barcelona, we are pioneers in creating a new style of energy using 100% renewables. This is our plan in bringing in more and more private users and companies. So also rehabilitation of housing. This is an opportunity to create new jobs and also change tremendously the building and construction industry in terms of energy use in housing and the energy consumed by our neighbors. Also a change of nutrition model of food consumed and bought. And we have a speaker who is a key precursor in this. Barcelona is the winner or the leader of the sustainable nutrition this year, emphasizing the ecological value of nutrition, of clean nutrition, and emphasizing the importance of a healthy model which is sustainable in our nutrition for the future. Another example this week is a new cleaning contract, the biggest contract that we've signed in the town hall, which covers 8 years, 2 billion euros. This is a huge renewal process for vehicles so that we can have electric vehicles which will be sustainable. So we're really aiming for circular economy and reduction of waste and solid urban waste particularly. And also for this development, we need the commitment of all our administrative bodies and our private sector. Barcelona wants to be a reference point, a benchmark in climate change. And this can't just be a municipal policy. This must be coordinated by all administrations which have to be aligned. We must talk about major infrastructures across the city. The airport, for example, we've planned an extension which we feel must be a policy which does not increase emissions. It's difficult to, of course, make an airport bigger without increasing emissions. So we have many challenges there, and we are also bringing our community, our citizens into this process. So we cannot make more excuses when it comes to transformation. This has to be a real transformation, taking firm decisions, because our citizens are asking us for an effective response, bringing in all our scientific knowledge through looking at this scientific ecosystem we have in Barcelona, Valencia, Madrid, and other cities. We are all working together through this commitment to bring forward the greatest scientific talent to design the right sort of policies that will give a real response, the response we need to the challenges we see. So this is vital. We cannot really look our citizens and the children, the adults of the future, in the face if we have not done this. So we're delighted to be in this meeting today, and thank you so much for the organizers for today. Thank you.
Thank you a lot for the welcome words, Senora Alcaldesa. So let's move to our next honorable speaker. So this is Senor Alcalde de Valencia, Joan Ribó. The floor is yours.
Good morning, Pedro Duque, Minister of Innovation and Science. Carlo Tempo for the European Centre for, and also other speakers, different representatives, corporations, institutions, and all others that we are lucky enough to share this session with, friends also. So it's a great pleasure for me to speak to you at this forum with these characteristics which are so vital for the citizens of the future, this climate change. I'm looking at the mitigation measures as one of the key strategies for our adaptation. So in this aspect, I think this is not whether we should go forward or not in a urban transformation for sustainability. The question is how we can accelerate this transition process to be able to respond to the growing challenges in climate terms, economic, social terms also that we face. So Valencia is a Mediterranean city, and we feel very proud of this. The Mediterranean is one of the European regions which is experiencing one of the greatest increases in temperature, but also one of the greatest regional impacts due to climate change and the heating of the climate. So we are a very vulnerable city, vulnerable to the impacts arising from climate change, which will affect us tremendously in terms of the availability of water, the quality of water, resilience of the ecosystems, and also biodiversity. This will affect the vulnerability of forest cover and also meteorological phenomena which are very extreme, and the rise in the sea level. So as a coastal city, experts warn us clearly of the floods and the move backwards, of the decrease in the size of beaches. We need to have many solutions based on new land planning, on increase of natural spaces. This will counteract the effects of our port infrastructure in our city on this move backwards of our beaches. This affects major advances. So we want to be a sustainable city, and we are working on a strategy for this city with a horizon of 2030. We want to take as a basis the objective of sustainable development, working on an urban plan with all the relevant players to be able to work out a plan for the coming decade, bringing in emissions plan which fits in with the plans of the European Union. We want to bring in experimentation also and all the new learnings as part of and as an inherent part of our strategy in our city development. For the new problems, we cannot use our old solutions, and many of the solutions, the new solutions, are still to be built and designed. They must be built collectively, facing inertias and also blocks, and increasing capacities through dialogue and bringing in a perspective which is for common good, and also thinking particularly about future generations, particularly over and above private interests, which we must put to the side. We must be creative to be able to deploy actions which are holistic and integrative, which provide the right sort of response to climate change problems. In this sense, we have echoed the first of the missions mentioned by the European Union, having 100 cities which are climatically neutral before 2030 as our key aim. We wish to promote and we wish to demonstrate how cities can accelerate their transformation process to reach this neutrality for 2030, knowing that our European objective is set for 2050 overall. For big cities like Valencia, the European Union considers the concept of city not as a whole, but as a series of districts special interest regions that must comply with a series of conditions and requirements. Valencia wants to be one of these 100 cities, which is a starting point for fighting against climate change in Europe. So this is what we've agreed in the plenary session of the Town Council, and we have a huge amount of support from groups in the opposition, not just in the government, but also from the opposition. Important to state that. So we can give continuity to the whole range of measures to counteract climate change, which we've been developing over the last 6 years. We have pushed forward major changes in mobility with advances in cycling mobility and also public transport with the best possible cycling infrastructure. We won the prizes in 2019, bike friendly, and but in more metropolitan terms, we've still got a lot to do. Outside the city, the use of cars is really a huge percentage of the total of transport movement, 60–70%. So we are looking at the development of energy communities at a local level through the move forward with renewable energies. We are advancing tremendously in a renaturalization process with a green plan and many initiatives so that all cities have green spaces which are high quality near their homes. So this is public space for our citizens. The town hall square, for example, we've been working on. We want to have a compact city where each local area has all the facilities it needs with the right sort of land use, which is truly sustainable. Sustainable nutrition, as Ana Colau mentioned, and at a proximity level also. But also to advance in this transition towards a sustainable city, we need data that enable us to witness our progress and also look at public policies and spread this knowledge and news to everyone and be more reliable and to be more effective in our more proactive in our advances towards fighting climate change. So we're working on the development of an infrastructure, a data-based infrastructure for the city of Valencia, integrated within the Valencia Intelligent City, Smart City network, to be able to guarantee the interoperability and the exchange of data with other institutions and other aspects and private players or social players. So this territorializes data, as it were, for the cities so that we can see how public policies are included in a differentiated manner in different areas of the city to be able to adjust these to the rigorous criteria set. So for bottom up which has been done in each of the areas of this city. Without doubt, the climate services that we will obtain through Copernicus will help us tremendously to improve all these processes. I want to finish my intervention with one last idea. If we are able to anticipate the move towards climatically neutral cities, we will live much better. These will be greener cities, more integrated within their environment. There will be proximity, district-based cities with more cohesiveness. There will be healthy cities. And in the case of cities on the coast, like Valencia, they will emphasize the value of the beaches and coastal spaces as a key area for our progress, for our comfort, and for our entertainment. So this will be for the coming generations. This is a city adapted to climate change and also decarbonized. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you a lot, Senor Alcalde. So many warm welcomes, and I would also have the pleasure now to announce my colleague and our director, and I will do it in Spanish. So it's the next speaker is Señor Director del Servicio de Cambio Climático.
Here we have the director for the Copernicus Climate Change Service. Thank you, Stein. Good morning to everybody. For the Minister for Ecological Transition and Demographic Challenge, Teresa Rivera Rodriguez, Minister for Science and Innovation, Pedro Duca, Mayor of Barcelona, Ada Colau, and Mayor of Valencia, Joan Ribó. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to say thank you for joining us and showing your commitment to our program and our activities. I don't think that anybody would have expected or could have expected anything better than this wonderful reception this morning. It's not something I do often. I don't often share the floor with politicians, and I'm sure I have never shared the floor with an astronaut. Thank you for joining us. I hope you will forgive me if I speak in Spanish. I'm doing this, and despite my strong Italian accent, this is to highlight the fact that the Copernicus program is truly international. It's at the service of Spain as well as the other EU member states. The Copernicus Climate Change Service is going to begin its second phase, and it aims to continue the work begun 5 years ago. The mission is the same: to provide free access to quality data on the climate of our planet and to provide access to this same data in order to pave the way towards establishing a climatically intelligent society. This means working with politicians at the European level to make sure that the new laws, such as the Green Deal, is based on the best data and science available. But it also means working with local institutions in order to guarantee that local policies for adaptation and mitigation are also based on scientific excellence. The gap that exists now between climate data and decisions is not one that can be eliminated just by means of one decision, but rather it needs the collaboration of different players from different fields and different specialist areas with different knowledge and approaches. In order for this chain of value to work, it's essential to have a sufficient number of organizations which are able to transform petabytes, data petabytes, into kilobytes of information. This means or involves developing knowledge in our universities and training new decision makers at the national level, municipal level and local level. It also means that we have to involve the private sector to have a vibrant sector in which SMEs, which are already working for the climate, can grow and prosper. I'm very happy that this year we are working a great deal with Copernicus in Spain. At the very start, we realized that Spain has a lot more to offer, not just a good climate, good food and lovely beaches. It has a vibrant scientific society. It has worked in modeling, and it has leading SMEs in the sector. They offer experience of a technical kind, which is unique when it comes to data standards and geodata processing. Barcelona and Valencia, with the universities, their research centers, the CSIC, but the Sonar Festival and the science centers in Valencia, all of these things come together to offer a very vibrant and alive context. We have contractors which are found by means of competitive tenders, and they are not based on geographical factors. The participation of organizations, universities, and Spanish businesses that we work with is therefore bears witness to the quality of the science, technology, and innovation that the country offers in the field of the climate. I don't want to take up any more of your time, so I shall conclude. I would just like to wish you and all of the participants 2 very productive days. Our team, together with the AEMET, team and the BSC team have prepared a great program. I'm really convinced that you will enjoy it a great deal. Thank you very much to all of you for joining us at this event. Thank you very much.
Thank you a lot, Carlo, for the nice welcome. I would like to move now to our second co-host of the event, Señor Consejero del Presidente de la Agencia Estatal de Meteorología, Fernando Belda. Fernando, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Steen. Thank you to everybody. Good morning to everybody. I would like, well, Excellencies, it's an honor to share this session, this opening session, with the representatives of authorities. We have the fourth Vice President of the government, Teresa Ribera Rodriguez, the Minister for Science and Innovation, Pedro Duque, the Mayor of Barcelona, Ada Colau, the Mayor of Valencia, Joan Ribó. My first words are words of gratitude, of course. Thank you, first of all, to the Spanish government for its unconditional support and its willingness for the fourth Vice President and Minister for Ecological Transition and Demographic Challenge to find time in her agenda to join us to talk about this project, which is a project which belongs to all of us. Secondly, to the Mayor of Barcelona, the Mayor of Valencia, thank you very much for your work and your concern for climate change, which is very clear. We see this every day. It's clear to the citizens. But also, thank you for finding a gap and finding some time to join us. It's a great pleasure to have you with us. And I would also like to say thank you to the Copernicus Climate Change Service, Carlo, leading this, and all of his team. We have spent a lot of time organizing this event, and unfortunately, the pandemic meant that we had to delay it, but I would like to thank them for their work, and on behalf of AEMET, the Spanish Meteorological Agency, I would like to say thank you for your faith in us and in the two cities of Valencia and Barcelona, who are going to be leading cities in this. I would also like to thank the BSC, the Supercomputing Centre in Barcelona, for sharing this path with us. We have shared many adventures, and we will share many more with them, because the BSC team is absolutely wonderful. Climate change is a reality, we know that, and we have to deal with the impact of that climate change in our everyday work. The title of today's event is significant. We're talking about challenges and solutions in Spain, or for Spain, with regards to climate change. How can we face these changes? There is a shared framework, like an umbrella, which must bring us all together, and this is cooperation. With the instruments that we have in our hands, or available to us, I mean, here we can talk about two main ones. First of all, we have the Copernicus service, but there are other instruments we have at a national level and in our cities. But first of all, the National Plan for Adaptation to Climate Change, with a large number of initiatives which are being developed. And as a physician, or a physicist, sorry, I would like to talk about three different dimensions. We could talk about the global aspect and right down to the local aspect. Initiatives at a global level may be carried out by UN organizations related to the mitigation of catastrophes or sustainable development goals. The World Meteorological Organization, with their activities and observation of the climate, which is of great efficiency and quality, and initiatives to support other countries so that they have no shortcomings in their observations. There are many initiatives. The European Union, with its Green Deal and the digitalization program for Europe, and of course, Destination Earth, are great examples, and no doubt Copernicus will be fundamental within all of this. We have the National Plan for Adaptation to Climate Change. We have local initiatives, and we've heard from Barcelona and Valencia about their initiatives because they are at the forefront of the battle against climate change, and they are a direct example for citizens or users. If we talk about the second line, this is going from science to services. Organizations, universities, operational organizations, private companies, public-private cooperation, and the transfer of knowledge to pass this on to citizens. And in this sense, it's fundamental, and we need to take into account this area of action. The third area of action goes from data to the service by means of a product. We have, and we need coordination between all the players. We need quality services for users. And this is a two-way path, from global to local and also from local to global. But there is a common denominator, which is the well-being of citizens that live in our cities. And here, in this case, we're talking about Barcelona and Valencia in particular. The last objective, or the ultimate objective of this event, is to note down and record the needs of citizens, so challenges and solutions. And to conclude, I'm going to mention something well known by meteorologists. We talk about three phases: analyzing, diagnosing, and predicting or forecasting. We have to analyze. Thanks to this event, we will be able to analyze what is available to us, the quality of the information. The Copernicus service is a great example of this. And then we will come up with a diagnosis. What do we have? What do we need? What is useful? What's the role of the private, the public sector, the cities, the regions, Europe, the world? And lastly, we will come up with a forecast. And this is to provide a good service by means of collaboration. So that's all from me. Thank you to you all. And we look forward to being able to work for all of you.
Thanks a lot, Fernando. So let's move to our next speaker and also co-host, as indicated. Señor Director del Departamento de Ciencias de la Tierra del Barcelona Supercomputing Centre, Francesco Doblas Reyes. Francesco, the floor is yours.
Muchas gracias, Stein. Me uno
Thank you very much, Stein. I join Carlo and Fernando in saying thank you to the authorities for joining us in this opening session, and above all, for their work that they are doing to make sure that we move towards a fairer and more sustainable society. I would like to also say thank you to C3S for their initiative. It's an admirable effort that they're making to include Spain amongst their priorities when it comes to announcing the service, to AEMET, the Spanish Meteorological Agency, working together with the BSC, the Supercomputing Centre in Barcelona, and also to the participants. We've seen a great amount of interest in today's event. I will try to be brief, and I would like to give some context to these days. I would like to say that when we began to organize these days, we felt that, on the one hand, it was a good idea to present Spanish society with the great opportunities provided by Copernicus Climate Change Service in order to help us to move towards a more sustainable society. But on the other hand, it was important to highlight how this service could contribute to generating new jobs with great added value in a country where this is so necessary. The participation of representatives of public administration and also the private sector shows the great interest that exists regarding these two objectives. And C3S can play a fundamental role as a catalyst to put all of this interest into action. In the BSc, we have a consortium between the Polytechnic University of Catalonia, the Catalonian government, and the national government, working to look at the physical aspects of the climate in Spain. It works with a multidisciplinary term, and here I would insist that it's transdisciplinary. And this is very important when dealing with climate change. It involves over 100 people. It looks at the management of global climate information obtained through climate modeling and data analysis. Data that comes from the largest databases, including the database which is growing and is provided by the Climate Change Service. The members of the department of the BSc are opening up new paths in order to find the added value of this information and to share with the administration and with companies in Spain or in other parts of the world in this process to adapt to climate change and to mitigate it using the best information available. As Carlo Buontempo said, the transition from petabytes of data to kilobytes of information is a costly process, but it's the only way in which we will be able to reach citizens and society. It's obvious that the Mediterranean region is an area where climate change is more present and will have a greater impact, and it is of particular interest in the BSc. We also work in the Arctic area, where the changes are terrible and the effect is difficult to predict. And the Mediterranean is an important area. But there are many hotspots around the world where the impact of climate change will be visible. In this context, the BSc has a synergic relationship with C3S. It uses large databases offered by the Copernicus Climate Change Service, and the service is distributed in a free public way, whilst at the same time providing help to the service for the development and implementation of the services it provides. This is done by means of contracts, competitive tendering, for the development of this service. If we talk about the contribution of BSc to C3S, we could talk about global climate predictions or projections for the next 100 years, which are currently pre-operational. These represent a great innovation in the service for the future, as well as the ability to define standards and provide information about the quality of the data. I would just like to encourage participants to collaborate with the organizers, C3S, AEMET, and BSc, to resolve their doubts and to find solutions. And I would express once again the interest of BSc of working for the society to deal with the challenges of climate change. Thank you, Stijn.
Thank you a lot, Francisco. So it's with great pleasure that I would like to announce our next honorable speaker, Señora Vicepresidenta Cuarta y Ministra para la Transición Ecológica y el Reto Demográfico, Teresa Rivera. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Buenos días, querida alcaldesa, querida.
Thank you. Good morning, dear mayors of Barcelona and Valencia, friends from the BSc, AEMET, everyone connected, and Carlo and Stijn. We would have loved to have seen you in Barcelona, and I'm sure you would have enjoyed the opportunity to visit this wonderful city and ecosystem of institutions which are desiring or longing to work and develop these services, and Copernicus, and working on long and medium-term predictions, connecting up with other issues and other research teams or players who know that all of this work will help us to take the best decisions possible within a complex situation with variables in which averages are no longer of any use. What we are experiencing is a much more complex scenario, more complex and less understood, less predictable, and less well known. So we need the very best data and science, the best observations, the best ability to analyze and study scenarios. That is what we need in order to reduce uncertainty and prepare for what will no doubt be one of the greatest adventures for our generation and, unfortunately, the generations of the future. In this country, we are convinced that we cannot fall behind in this. We are vulnerable in the face of a changing climate. We have physical vulnerabilities, economic vulnerabilities, social vulnerabilities. And this means that we need to make sure that people do not suffer, to make sure that our economy, our cities and ecosystems are not affected dramatically. This is something to which everybody must contribute. We must be responsible and come together and work in the same direction. The services offered by Copernicus and the European network of data observation is key in the Mediterranean, which is where we are focusing our attention today. It's not the only one. Of course, the Iberian Peninsula and the other climate region represent opportunities for creativity, which is of great interest. But today we have the representatives of Barcelona and Valencia, which will focus largely on the Mediterranean. We have collaborators and users who will benefit from seeing different perspectives. We are going to see the quality products that are offered and are key in order to strengthen the basis of our knowledge. Our tools for predictions and for building knowledge and skills are key in creating greater resilience to vulnerabilities. In AEMET, well, Fernando has said very interesting words. And the work in the administration that we can do by promoting better understanding and also providing guidance about how to integrate adaptation strategies and how to construct knowledge and awareness in the average citizen in order for us to be able to all respond to challenges. This will help to make us stronger and safer when facing the impact of climate change. If we talk about domestic policies and business decisions, social decisions, of course, knowledge and science, but also we're talking about decisions which must be in line with our regional collaboration and international collaboration. And when we talk about climatology and meteorology and North Africa, the Mediterranean as a whole, in this area, collaboration with non-European areas is also key, and based on historical links, friendship, and shared cultures. We could also talk about Latin America. These relationships are essential in our working program for the national government, but also regional and local government, looking for partnerships and alliances with institutions with similar awareness and understanding. we have to work and understand this basic information. We have to promote a study of climatology, but we also have to work on policies. Fernando referred to the 2021-2030 adaptation plan. After years of work and adaptation and the inclusion of different variables, we believe that it represents a pillar, a constant pillar which we must promote. There are lines of action in different socioeconomic sectors around 8 main areas of work: infrastructures and ecosystems, but also economic sectors and social areas which are sensitive, identifying where we need to strengthen and prioritize our response by planning and understanding that the most important thing right now is to not increase risks, not increase the cost. And so one immediate conclusion, which is key, is that we should not spend a single euro on anything which increases the danger or the risk. Decisions in the economic sector, in budgeting, in public policies, but also in the financial sector, in order to prevent any increase in costs. This is key. So if we talk about this plan for adaptation to climate change, we are talking about a coordinated tool for different players, which will boost synergies to protect nature, but also to protect health. Objectives for adaptation, which must be tangible and measurable. And here, this links up with the perspective of how our measures evolve, what impact we have with what we are doing, and measuring their impact, a reflection of reality through observations as provided by Copernicus. This can help us to understand how far we are moving in the right direction and whether we are moving fast enough or not. At a European level, it's essential to strengthen these tools, above all the ability to observe and to develop models, and also in having consistent European and domestic programs and policies. If we take the words of the Commission, we have to have a plan which is more systemic, more intelligent, and faster in order to adapt. This is the path we have to follow. We are going faster than we might have expected a few years ago, but we are going much slower than we know we should be. The interaction of technological progress and digital progress in these processes will help us to speed up. They will help us to offer climate services, which will help us to consolidate knowledge and the ability of all of the players to connect with knowledge platforms regarding the climate used by a wider range of users. And we must be grateful for the access to the Copernicus database, because this will help us to have a permanent database, a base of knowledge. Nonetheless, we have significant gaps in the basis of our scientific development right now. We need to understand the consequences of these phenomena in the everyday life of our citizens. And we have this connection with the human factor and sociology. This has not reached its full role and gained full importance, not even in the reports provided by IPCC. We see that these social aspects are gaining importance, but they are still far from enough. The pandemic has been one example. It goes beyond the rationality of the great sciences or of nature or maths or engineering or Excel spreadsheets. We're not just talking about macro development, but we're talking about the macro effect of change in our everyday lives, in our micro realities. For this reason, we have to work to better understand what it means to belong to all of this. And so when we prepare our candidacy to prepare the medium-term prediction centre in Barcelona, all of this hard work should not be left to one side. It should be an example and the basis to continue constructing. Even though we're not going to have the prediction center in Barcelona, we do know that the working in a network and programs in different areas of specialization should be connected in order to ensure an understanding of this reality in which we live. This is fundamental. And over the next 2 days, I'm sure that we will be able to test some of the elements and study the interests of a large part of the social players. But above all, we will be able to progress within an initiative that we hope will get started very soon and will strengthen these bonds and collaboration in this great challenge that we all face. Thank you very much, Stijn, for this time. Thank you. It's lovely to see you all, even if it is just in very small boxes on the screen. And I hope to see you soon in the future and in person. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Señora Vicepresidenta. And I would like to thank all the honorable speakers of this morning. It's such a warm welcome and it's such a nice start of our event. As indicated, we have 3 different themes. So we have climate extremes, then we talk about water management, and then we talk about energy tomorrow. So with this, I would like to close the opening session. Thanks a lot again. So I would say goodbye and stay tuned for the next session, which will focus on climate extremes. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I now have the pleasure to moderate the next session, which focuses on climate extremes. This session has 3 components, 2 panel discussions focusing on climate extremes at differing spatial scales. And after the coffee break, 2 presentations providing more information about C3S and the data tools and services and information we provide, and a user case study coming from Lobelia, a Spanish SME, which leverages C3S information and data to provide a value-added service, and then one of the clients of this data. I now have the pleasure of introducing my co-host, Maria Manas. Maria works at the Climate Service Center in Germany, and she applies system thinking and analysis support to climate services development. Maria is an expert in participatory modeling and has worked in the last 20 years on the development of participatory processes and models. And I've just realized by introducing Maria that I've forgotten to introduce myself. So excited by this session I am. So my name is Samantha Burgess and I'm the Deputy Director of C3S. And as we've heard from all of the distinguished opening speakers, they touched upon the importance of climate extremes and the uncertainty and challenge of predicting those climate extremes and predicting how you adapt and how you reduce vulnerabilities to those climate extremes. So without further ado, I'll hand over to Maria to introduce our first panel.
Hola, buenos días a todos. Voy a hacer una presentación.
Hello to everybody. I'll do a quick introduction. Translation's been quite tricky in some points, so I work for the German Climate Change Service, and I'm an agricultural economist, and I work in participatory processes. So in this first panel, which is national, we're looking at a national perspective and the challenges, the possibilities that a country like Spain has when it comes to using climate services. We have 3 panelists. We have Eduardo González, who is the subdirector of the Spanish Office for Climate Change. at the Ministry for Ecological Transition and Demographic Challenge. We also have Asunción Sinclair. She's the key advisor for the Supercomputing Centre in Barcelona and also working through the Commission on Transformation of Society due to Climate Change, and also Jesus Montero from AEMET, who is the head of data services and processing in AEMET. No, sorry. I'm the Director of Production and Infrastructures for AEMET. Okay, sorry, that's what I was told. Okay, for this round table, we have some questions for you. And the first thing I'd like to do, apart from introduction from your point of view, who you are, what you do, I'd like you to tell us your opinion on the influence of climate change on our decisions, our strategic decisions in Spain. That would be the first question. I can give you the rest of the questions, or if you like, we'll just do one by one as you wish. As you wish. Yeah, that's fine. And the way you've planned it, that sounds fine to me. So, Eduardo, would you like to start off? Okay, thank you very much, Maria, and congratulations for this initiative of setting up this session, which really affects us so much. It's very important. As Subdirector of the Spanish Office for Climate Change, a large part of our work is about integrating both the effects of climate change in the short, medium, and long term, and also working on questions of mitigation, how to mitigate climate change. So, specifically, the question that you're asking us is part of our job, this integration at sector level of the impacts of climate change, the climate extremes, and how this enters the sector-based planning in all the ministries, and the integration of the daily decisions and the events that are affecting us tremendously, climate events. So I would like to remind you that we have our National Plan for Adaptation to Climate Change, which covers the integration of all sectors in economic terms, in for businesses, and the phenomena that affect citizens, climatic effects, how this affects us in our decision-making process. We're talking about decisions which affect infrastructures in the long term, for urban planning, design structure, transport structure, the planning of energy systems or power systems, which are greatly affected by climate, and remind you that this integration has been handled fairly effectively, specifically the legislative changes that must reflect all the aspects of climate change, and all the specific projects are subjected to an environmental impact study, which cover the questions of climate mitigation and adaptation to climate change. So briefly, this is our view. If you like, I can go in more deeply to any specific question. I would invite Asun now to give her, Asunción, to give her opinion. Thank you very much, Maria, for your presentation. I would like to tell you that my work centers on creating bridges between technical information, the information we have from climate data, and the different players that need to use this information, and also that need to trust that this information is not just high quality, but also relevant and adaptable to their decision-making processes in a context. So I have experience in the academic sector in research, in private companies. This is interdisciplinary work in projects that include rural workers, specialists in risk management, specialists in MET offices working with the scientists. So I need to understand not just the consequences of climate change in general, but also I need to understand how this affects organizations and society at large. So this means that we have to understand the context of the decision-making processes, the language used, the barriers that we have to get over to face climate risks and avoid them. So I think if we are not capable of doing this integration of knowledge groups to be able to apply and make operational our decisions and our solutions, this is vital. So Copernicus is vital. The Philomena storm affected hugely a very large number of people. So the quality of weather forecasts did allow us to provide information to many services, but that weather information didn't get to all social partners in a uniform way. So we have to think about people that need to distribute clothes, food, supplies. People need, for example, hide boots, again, to protect against water. Many different supplies needed. So these kind of emergency teams we supply through companies like Decathlon. So our specialists need to work together to anticipate this climate variation so we can plan better, and companies like Decathlon can plan their supplies. So we have many other examples to talk about. I don't know if you want me to leave it there and talk more later. Thank you, Asunción. So now let's have Jesus Montero from AEMET for his contribution. Good morning. Thank you very much. I work, as I said, in production infrastructure for AEMET, for the MET office, Spanish MET office, which has the job to provide meteorological services through the state, through public policies and private initiatives, with the aim of contributing to the safety and security of individuals, property, and also promote sustainable growth and progress in society. So the work that we do in our office is to manage and coordinate operational actions. We're responsible for processes of prediction, production, and data handling, advice and warning systems, analysis of climate phenomena, observation, telecommunications, data processing through the National Climate Data Bank. With respect to how this affects extreme events, our job is bearing in mind the extreme climate phenomena, that we bear in mind that this has a greater and greater effect on people's lives and businesses. So consequently, our agency is particularly affected by a greater demand for services, for information on extreme climate phenomena. And so this is growing increasingly in the sense that we need to integrate within this any questions of uncertainty and optimizing what we have available, filling the knowledge gap which existed before between also getting over difficulties of language used by different sectors and different professionals and businesses. So secondly, our production can be affected by the need to introduce early warning systems of climate anomalies, etc., which can be used by the responsible sectors in decision-making processes and initiatives to be taken in emergency situations, which civil protection, for example. So this informed decision-making processes on the right sort of practice to be taken to be able to respond to climate change is vital, with proportional action taken by us with a solid scientific base, technical and also socio-economic base. So an example of these contributions that we make through AEMET to different sectors could be the measures, support measures, the measures that are described in the National Plan for Climate Adaptation, for adaptation to climate change. So basically, this consists of maintaining and improving systematic observation of the atmospheres, which is essential. The more data we have, the better we can observe and use that data. So also we need this observation system for early warning systems. Another tactic or aspect is the scenario production for future climate scenarios so that we can provide the right response within the most reliable information possible. And also climate services, the introduction of climate services, which we are involved in right now by supplying systems which transform the huge amount of data into products and climate applications, which will serve us to take decisions for the different players involved. So this is the impact that our work has, and we are asked for greater guidance and more specific products to be able to, so that our partners and participants can take the best decisions. Thank you very much for the response of the three. We've had some varied responses there. If we go back to the part which is decision-making from all the information created on climate systems, how do you think we should bring this information into decision-making processes? What type of information do you think is useful or could be useful? Asunción has commented, has said three words: confidence, quality, and the relevance of information. If we go back to ask, if we go and ask Eduardo, how do you see this question of information that must be used? Which is the most useful information? Okay. Well, as I said, we have different dimensions that we work in. One is more short-term. In the short term, I think that the increase in the quality of information is vital. We are being more precise. We have greater levels of provision in our downscaling of the information to then take decisions more locally, regionally, etc. And the increase in technical quality of the resources and the tools we have, and the frequency of information and the diversity of this information will help us tremendously in subjects such as the assessment of the ability to fight against forest loss, also neutrality, the question of oxygen sinks, carbon sinks, sorry, specific policies in those areas. I can give you some specific examples in agriculture. We talk about increasing the organic carbon in the soils and also in the identification of terrain, of lands that have not been worked upon or where there have been no low-level laboring techniques. They're not been subjected to these. So we have many policies associated to this, to rewards for this type of progress of improving the soil quality. So we also adoption of decisions which involve a great deal of uncertainty. There's a lot of if we adopt solutions that ensure that all the risks associated to this uncertainty can be anticipated, we can avoid very, very high costs. So if we have greater information, reduction of risk, reduction of uncertainty, fundamental to be able to adopt the right decisions, particularly in long-term investments, so that they are the right decisions. So this is very associated to the question of insurance. The insurance sector, which insures those risks, will be greatly benefited by a greater quality of information that we can provide. So, and the insurance sector is an essential part to cover all questions of risk. Then there's a wide panoply of subjects where greater quality for information and frequency of information, the detail of this information will help us to take decisions within the competences that the ministry give us. Asun, what about your opinion? Go ahead. Okay, I have a couple of points which are complementary to what Eduardo said. I think we need to understand the integration of information of extreme climate events. The knowledge of these is vital so that we can have a basis for our planning, a common basis of risks that affect companies or organizations. This is absolutely vital. We're absolutely accustomed to this. Might be a drink production company, it might be renewable energies company. So I'll make some general points, and then I'd also like to talk about multilingualism, which is vital. We need to see how extreme events affect our business model and the commercialization and trading of their products, the infrastructures, this condition of the workers there. This is vital if we want to be successful in our climate service. So we also have to understand the social aspects, and Eduardo mentioned this. If we don't understand human behavior, which is key for resilience, as we're seeing over these days with the question of COVID, we have to remember that the most vulnerable sectors in any society are going to be living in the most precarious situations, in the most vulnerable situations and locations, and will have less access to services and less purchasing power to be able to buy